I'm Bertina, I learned to sew on the internet, and now I'm giving back my tips and tricks. This last year I posted a lot of short form content on my sewing projects. I posted almost every single day, but I have more to say about my projects than I can in like 60 to 90-second videos, and I think there is a lot of tips that I have to share that I've accumulated over the last couple of years. So welcome to my life. Let's get started. I started sewing about 10 years ago. Since then I've worked in the fashion industry. I have my bachelor's in textile technology and I'm about to head off to get a master's in clothing development, you could say. I'm gonna do that one in Berlin. I'm super excited, and instead of packing I decided to go ahead and spend my time filming this video because we love procrastination. So let me tell you how I got here. I've always been a super crafty person. It all started with adding studs to essentially every single piece of clothing that I own back in like 2014 or something. And then I made my first circle skirts. I copied some of the clothing that I had, and I've been sewing ever since. I've made a lot of projects since then, and when I say a lot, probably close to like 4 figures now. I do think that I have made several hundred pieces for sure, and I don't think I'm going to be stopping anytime soon. I think every single sewing project comes with its own set of challenges, and every single project is individual to the pattern, the fabric, the different steps you have to take to actually make it, the fit on your body. And I hope that with all of the things that I've learned over the years, I can help you guys get through some of your sewing projects a little bit smoother. I hope I can help with sharing a couple of my tips and tricks. I do that in my short form video. I try to share what I have learned and what I find to be difficult as a beginner sewer, but I also want to do some longer form content where I can go a bit more in depth about why I do things a certain way and how all of these things and tools that I have learned can help you with your sewing. I personally don't ever work with paper patterns. I've worked with like, I don't know, up to maybe 5 of them up until this point, and that's it. Aside from that, I draft my own patterns, and for me, my biggest challenge is because of that, because I never follow any patterns and pattern instruction, my biggest challenge in the beginning was which order I should be doing the steps in. So I was very proud of the first pair of mom jeans I made because I found them to be very complex at the time, and getting the order right, and okay, when do I do the waistband? When do I put in the belt loops? When do I do the buttonhole? How do I actually put on the waistband? And all of that came with trial and error. Now in my content, I focus on explaining every step that I take. I go step by step in the order that I do the steps in, and I don't always use the correct method. I do go for unconventional methods very often because I'm a big believer in doing what you can with what you have. I can't remember the last time I was at a fabric store. It was probably actually, I think about like 2 years ago, because I had gotten a gift card from friends, but aside from that, I never go fabric shopping. Most of my fabric was gifted to me. How I do that, how I have built up a huge IKEA shelf of gifted fabric, I'm going to make an entirely separate video on that, but I don't go fabric shopping. And working with gifted fabric and fabric that, you know, you'll have like 1, maybe 2 yards of it, that brings its own set of challenges, because you can't think of a project and then buy the fabric accordingly, but your planning gets thrown around entirely. So what I do is, there's 2 things. Either I stand in front of my shelf and I look, all right, what fabric do I have? See if one speaks to me, look how much I have from it, and think of what I'm gonna make from it. Or I say, I wanna make a project, something like this. Let's see if I have the right fabric and if I have enough. Very often I don't have enough, and then I have to take a couple of fabrics together, and then I'll come up with a design where maybe the pockets are made from a different fabric and so on. But I rarely ever just design something freely and find the exact perfect fabric that I need for that in my stash. So I have to be very flexible in the way I design. Throughout all of that, I've really learned to challenge myself and my creativity though, and I'm very excited with some of the projects I made. There have, of course, been quite a few fails along the way. This set, for example, I absolutely love. However, it is a cotton in a satin weave. A satin weave just means that the threads in the weave interlace a little less often than they would in a canvas weave, where they interlace at like every single thread. So you have very long threads along the surface. Not the best for clothing where you're gonna have rubbing. For example, I also made the matching pants, and between the crotch you're gonna have some pilling because some of the fibers are gonna lift out, and I learned that the hard way. Wasn't the ideal choice, but through all of that trial and error, I have figured out what fabrics work for what and what don't, and I think that's super, super important to know as a sewist. So while I'm at my parents' house, let me show you some of the projects I've made over the year that I'm very, very proud of, so you know what kind of projects I actually make. First up, my prom dress, which obviously has pockets. This faux leather jacket, this set, which I have yet to wear, this wedding dress, and a close-up for the details, and of course, this little number.